Rhea Ripley has come back to Raw, made her grand return last week.
So she has.
And this week,
Yeah.
we had the fallout, didn't we?
Oh, certainly did.
Oh.
Certainly did.
Boy, howdy, do we have the spice this week on WWE Raw.
Mysterio's chicken tendies, or nuggies, or whatever he called them, have come home to roost.
The chicken nuggies have come home to roost.
Thank you.
Very good. Hello, welcome to the WrestleTalk podcast. If it's your first time here, subscribe to the channel. Why not? We do reviews
We'll give you a reason to.
3 times a week.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Like the video while you're here. I'm Pete Quinnell. I'm joined by Dan Layton.
Hello, hi.
Luke's not here today. He's working from home.
That's why I did his little joke. He likes to start the show with an awful pun. So I thought I'd do one for him.
I had a really good joke there, but you said pun instead of joke.
Okay, he likes to do it with an awful joke.
He's the awful joke.
Oh, I see. I think when I was the awful joke, it
No.
would have been probably better, honestly, because he's doing it he starts the show with an awful joke, and that would be... Welcome to the Raw podcast.
Yeah, that's... Anywho, get in your thoughts about the show. WrestleTalk.com/support. Get in your...
UltraChats.
UltraChats?
Well, we had...
Alpha Chats?
We had that for a while.
Omega Chats.
Yeah.
Obviously AEW.
But the Alpha Academy is sort of falling apart,
Yeah,
so...
okay.
CMDMs. Oh, but that was the that's what we have for Collision.
That's
we
good.
can have it for Raw again.
The Wyatt
Just
Chats.
do UltraChats.
UltraChats. WrestleTalk.com/support. And also, this stream is sponsored by Geology. Thank you so much to Geology for sponsoring the stream. Click the link in the description down below to get 70% off. My goodness, what a deal. We'll talk about more. We'll talk about them later. But first, we're going to talk about Rhea bloody Ripley.
Quite.
On this show. So, we'll go through all the segments, because there's a lot of them.
Yes, like in classic, this is what Dan Layton wants from Raw style.
Yeah.
The story took the whole show.
Yeah.
Various interconnected moments here and there, characters weaving in and out. I enjoyed that.
It was pretty good. So let's start with the opening segment, which began with Rhea Ripley coming out after a recap of her return from last week. She came out and said she'll handle Dom later.
Hang on, I'm not going to let you just go over this.
Okay.
Gloss over this, because you already have.
Okay.
The woman was in a lift. The lift opened. Out she comes. She's just got all the swagger in the world. She's like, come with me. People are just so excited. She's got the one shot that follows her through. Having been an actor who has done a shot where you get out of a lift, that is hard to achieve. So already I was impressed and attracted to this whole segment. I was like, this is working for me.
Yeah.
Rhea's swagger. Then she's got the China gear, studded. She's already kind of is quasi-China tribute with the black leather, but it was very China coded this week, and I was very grateful for it. So already I'm in. Now do the segment.
Okay. Damn, we have
Don't be glossing over production.
We have like 17 segments.
I know, but this was important to me.
She begins cutting a promo saying she'll handle Dom later, but right now there's something else that she's been missing, because Liv Morgan has taken stuff from her. She's not talking about Dom. She's talking about the World Heavyweight Championship, and she needs it back. So she calls out Liv to get out to the ring right now. Of course, she doesn't. But instead, here comes Dominik Mysterio.
Little Dom-Dom.
Comes out very sheepishly. I thought Dom selling through this whole episode was really good. And the selling of the situation was fantastic. Comes out very sheepish, and he's got a little rose for her, big booze, and he's just trying to say, hey, let me explain. I can explain what happened. Please, just let me explain. And she's not having it. Turns his back on him and everything. Then Liv comes up on the screen, does some taunting, saying that I wasn't even interested in Dom to start with, but I got to spend time with him. My voice is a little hoarse. I'm a screamer. Great. Saying she got to kiss Dom and her world changed and all that stuff. And Rhea said, I knew you were going to be a coward and not come out here, so I'm going to issue a challenge at SummerSlam, me and you, for the World Heavyweight title. And Liv accepts the challenge and says she's not the same Liv anymore. And then she helped him beat his dad, which Rhea couldn't do. So she's already better on that front. And Rhea looks down the lens of the camera and says she's going to end Liv's career. And as they're walking out, Dom sits on the rope for her to get out. She's like, no. He gets off the ropes, then she gets out, and then he tries to give her the flower. She grabs it and throws it away, and then walks out. I thought this was a really good opening segment. I enjoyed it.
Very, very good indeed. I thought it was Liv's best promo in a long time. There was
really
something about her... We've talked about this a few times. Her style of talking and the way she likes to cut a promo is a bit Marmite. You're either a massive Liv Morgan fan or it grates on you, and I can kind of understand why both ways. But there was something about the restraint and having her do it as a video rather than out there. There's a different energy when you're out there with a mic, that if you are inclined, Mercedes Moné is a similar one, where if you're inclined to sort of deliver it Zelina Vega falls in this trap sometimes as well. I'm going to deliver this in a certain way, and that's how I'm going to say it.
Yeah.
It kind of can feel a little bit stilted, but there was something about this that made it feel a little bit more energetic, even though she was kind of like lower on the energy scale. I really liked it. I also thought the recentering of the women's title was a kind of key part of this.
Very needed.
Luke in particular over the past few weeks has talked about how he forgets that she's champion, how it should be about the championship, and the reminder that actually, you know, Rhea was this dominant champion. She never lost it. She wants the title. All the rest of it was, I think, a really smart choice. I like the whole segment very much.
And it set up a match that I think we all knew was coming, but I'm very much looking forward to.
Yeah.
It should be really, really good. Backstage, Dom tries to make it up to Rhea, like they're walking backstage, and he's still going, please, just let me explain. And she walks into their clubhouse, locker room. I hate when they call it a clubhouse, but whatever. There's like big flowers and an arrangement for her and everything. She goes, what the hell is this? He's like, I'm just trying to make it up to you. And then she slams the door in his face, and Damian Priest is there, and he's laughing about the whole thing, just being like, hey man, sucks. That's rough, buddy. That's an Avatar quote. Love that. I'm sorry, Dan, but you're just uncultured. Famously uncultured.
I know,
Dan
that's
Layton.
absolutely fair, in fairness.
But then she opens the door, throws the flowers out, slams the door again. She's not happy. You can tell. This then played into later on, Judgment Day backstage in their locker room.
Clubhouse.
Locker room.
Their Judgment Den.
Damian Priest and Rhea Ripley having a good time together, laughing about it together. She's like, hey, thanks for keeping Judgment Day together while I was gone. Really appreciate it. I know you got a lot on your plate. Still got a lot on your plate, but I appreciate you putting in the effort for the group and everything. And then Ripley's like, one question, why is Carlito here? It's like, yeah, good point. She wouldn't even know.
Quick cue.
Yeah. Hold up. What's he doing here? And, excuse me, Dom again tries to make amends. And he's like, I've been trying to contact you all week. And she's like, all week? What about all the time I was out?
I loved that.
Yeah.
I loved that.
Yeah. And she's like, were you too busy with your little girlfriend? I'm like, okay, interesting. I like this. So now, like, Dom kind of looks like an a-hole. Because if he genuinely didn't contact her the whole time, that's bad.
Do you remember when Terry Runnels turned on the Hardy Boys? Her justification for that was when the Dudleys had put her through the table, they sort of saw her once and then never saw her again. And it was like, well, sod ya. It's that same thing, the idea that he's been like, I'm sorry, but boys be like this. So for her to stand there and say like, no, actually, I'm worth far more than this. Why did you not message me? I liked it very much. Yeah. It was a nice touch.
Very, very good. This led into another segment later on where Damian Priest and Dom argue again backstage. Dom being like, come on, man, you're supposed to have my back and all that stuff. And Priest is like, look, it's not my fault that you've lied about ending things with Liv and lied about keeping in contact with Rhea. That's on you, buddy. Jey Uso then appears, which I really like Jay's inclusion in this one. It says, hey, does this now mean that Rhea's single? I mean, that's pretty great for me. Tell her I said hi, Great, love that. Which is weird because we know why, well, not why Rhea was off, but we know while she was off, she got married.
Oh, it's a narrative fiction program.
I know. I'm aware of that. I'm just saying there's often that blend of reality and,
Jay's got
fiction.
Kids
Exactly,
kids,
yeah.
so
Jay's married and kids.
Yeah.
So it's like this weird mixture of reality and fiction. And then sometimes you go, reality doesn't matter. We can look past it for this one. And then after Jay leaves, Priest says to Dom, he's like, dude, you've been to prison. You can't let people talk to you like that.
I popped so hard. I forgot about, Chain Gang Dom or whatever it was.
It was absolutely brilliant. You can't let people talk to you like that. You got to show them who Mommy belongs to. And as soon as he said that line, I was like, oh, that's going to come back to bite him. I'm pretty certain. And after Dom walks away, Priest just starts laughing like he knows what he's doing. He's just having a good time. He's just kind of messing with Dom the whole time, which is great. I love that as a dynamic as well. We then had another segment later on with, I think this one was my favorite out of all of the backstage ones. So it starts off with Finn Balor and JD McDonough saying like, yeah, let's address the elephant in the room. Liv Morgan did help us win these tag titles, but Rhea's like, it's fine. Got to do what you got to do. You've got the gold now. That's the important bit. Now I can focus on getting my title back. Priest has got his title, and we're going to be all good. It's totally fine. She forgives them for working with Liv. Dom then comes in and says, yeah, Jey Uso was talking mad about you earlier, so I've made a match with him. I'm going to have a match with him later. And she's like, are you stupid? Why are you picking a fight with Jey Uso? And it's like, oh, okay, I'll go get the match cancelled. He goes, no, what are you, a coward? Like, come on. And it's just a conflicting thing where Dom's just going, I don't know what to do.
She's just making him squirm.
Yeah, the whole time. And then, yeah, what are you, a coward now? And then Dom just goes, look, I just wanted everyone to know that you're still my member, that you still belong to me. And she's just like, excuse me? And then just walks away. And it's like that perfect moment where you go, that's obviously not what he meant, but that is what he said, and it's been completely like turned on its head, and he cannot get anything right. It's perfect.
It also is what he meant.
Yeah.
At the same time, because like Priest had said it earlier on, and what I liked was when Priest said it, I went, ugh, like that's very aggressive, and I don't like 100%, that.
Yeah.
And then he says it to her, and then to have her reaction, but also specifically to have like all three of them turn around and go like, oh, brother.
Oh, dude.
That's like, what would you say there for?
Yeah.
Kind of, I was like, oh, great, you've addressed this head on. And now I realize this is now part 2 of what will become a 3-part, you know, whatever.
And then Carlito capping off the segment, just being like, hey, man, not cool.
Yeah, look, Carlito absolutely nailing it for weeks now.
Love
just
it.
by being like, you want to take that WWE money
to
show up and be comic relief and like to get your punchline in every week. Good for you. I love that.
Absolutely love it. So then we had the Dominik Mysterio and Jey Uso match that had been set up properly earlier. Dom attacked before the bell. I thought this was a good match. But then, of course, there was Liv Morgan interference.
Yes.
Of course there was. He managed just to hold his own against Jey, but then Liv pulls him out the ring just as Jey's going to go for a splash. Jey then drop kicks him like through the ropes. He falls onto Liv. Liv rolls him over, so she's on top of him again. Out comes Rhea Ripley in kind of a mirror of last week's segment. Liv then runs off, and Dom is just like, and Dom beforehand as well, before he got drop kicked onto Liv, was like, leave. Like I don't want you here. Kind of like still really trying to get on Rhea's good side. And then after Liv's run away, Dom was like, what do I do? Rhea, what do I do? And she's like, get in the ring, finish your match, you idiot. So then he gets in, immediately gets speared by Jey Uso and loses. Jey then turns to Rhea Ripley and gives a little, call me? Rhea then smiles at Jey and then walks away, like a little like, and then walks away. And I was like, that's interesting. Okay. And then we had the backstage segment on top of this, which I really loved for a lot of different reasons. But then Priest and Dom are backstage again for one last backstage segment, and Priest is like, hey man, yeah, you lost in front of Rhea, hey? Oof, that's rough, man, what are you gonna do? And then Ripley comes over, so he's like, well, I'll leave you to it, walks off. And then Rhea says, let's get something straight, I don't belong to anyone. I'm not yours, you're mine. Hands him a flower. Now, here's the question. Does Rhea actually want him back?
Well,
or is she just messing with him some more? Is she trying to do a thing with Jey Uso and she's trying to just make Dom hurt, you know? Does she just want to manipulate him more to prove to Liv Morgan that her tactics aren't working? Because, no, Dom's still with me, see? You didn't even do anything. Thought you were doing something there and you didn't, you know? Does she actually want Dom back, or is she just messing with him some more?
I loved all of this Love Island bollocks, to be honest. Like, it is very up my street, this kind of like silly love triangle soap opera stuff, and the use of Jey Uso as just an extra character. I don't think it's Jey Uso and Rhea Ripley are ever going to go anywhere. That's ever going to be a story. They don't make any sense in terms of what Jey Uso has on his plate and what Rhea Ripley has on hers. But it was nice to use massively over with the crowd, very entertaining Jey Uso to be who has previous with Damian Priest and with the Judgment Day altogether, to sort of have this antagonistic element to it. And also very smartly, I think, and I'll talk about this when we have a segment later on, give a little bit of the babyface rub to Damian Priest.
Absolutely.
That was really smart to weave that in there as well. Rhea Ripley is someone who don't need no man.
Mm-hmm.
She is the babyface heel dynamics within the Judgment Day are really interesting because this is ostensibly a heel group, but over the past 6 months or so, Rhea Ripley's kind of organically just become the biggest star babyface in the company, really, even in her feud with Becky Lynch, because ultimately this is like a Steve Austin kind of thing where it's like you can she's like an anti-hero is what I mean by that. I'm not saying she's necessarily on the level of Steve Austin, although I think crossover appeal she absolutely is. She has this kind of energy and swagger about her that sort of forces you to like her. Do you know what I mean? She's got, even down to she leaves the lift, she's looking down there and she's like, come with me. I'm palm of her hand. I'm putty in her hands at that point because she's just got such confidence. She oozes that kind of aura. That's why it was so, the fact that she hasn't been present for months, but she's been a direct and present part of this story speaks to that. And then you have got Priest, who, as I mentioned, is sort of getting that little babyface rub, and I don't feel like it is, situational, to use the common coinage that is the cliche these days. I feel like it's very much setting up a sort of two tribes go to war kind of Judgment Day situation, with the Finn stuff that is still lingering from Money in the Bank when he gave him that little stare down as he walked off. The fact that they're all still in this clubhouse, that is filled with stuff that Liv Morgan bought. That Dom is kind of half in and half out. Dom is a pawn in all of this. She's using him. Rhea's using him as a pawn. Now, let's not forget that initially he was used as a pawn to get one over on Rey Mysterio. This was the thing way back when they were sort of like teasing him, and then he just went over, and that was how we managed to get the heel Dominik Mysterio that everyone knows and loves to hate today. Was him being a pawn.
Yeah.
I'm rooting for these crazy kids. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't know how else to say it, but like, I kind of like the idea of like, she's like, you've been a dick, Dom. You've not been horrible, because looking at the material for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks, he has been rebuffing Liv Morgan, right? Liv Morgan's agenda was never to take Dominik and have him be her boyfriend. She never really wants him, even as she's saying things like now, even though she's running down and getting on top of him. It's not about Dominik Mysterio. It's about getting one over on Rhea Ripley. She's like, a reminder, I hurt my arm. That's why I was out for months. So I have no pity for you in that opening promo. All of it is about Liv and Rhea, which is what it should be about. And it is centered on the sort of title. It's just got that extra little bit of romantic comedy screwball drama stuff that I just really like. I see going forward there's going to be a sort of moment where Dom has to decide, but then that decision is taken away from him because the reality of what's going on with this kind of what I believe to be a Finn Liv alignment will show itself, perhaps at SummerSlam, perhaps before, perhaps after, but in the meantime, this kind of like having Dom run around like an injured puppy, having been, because who's expecting Dominik Mysterio to be emotionally available, right? He's there playing his PlayStation and eating his chicken nuggets. Yeah. So he's not. Of course, he didn't think to text Rhea while she was poorly. Also, Rhea and Priest establishing that they've been messaging each other the whole time. That it's all really good stuff. I really like all of it. I think it's a fantastic diversion from the seriousness that we have elsewhere in the show, from the real sports feel that you can have between certain matches. I just love this part of the soap opera of it all.
Yeah, I totally agree. I love all of this. I love the different character dynamics. I love how Rhea has come back and immediately we've just gone like, oh yeah, no, she's like a top star.
She's elevated everything. And she was there anyway.
Yeah, 100%, right? But I love that nothing's changed. No. Even in that time she's been off, all it's done is like absence makes the heart grow fonder, right? Yeah. All we've done has been like, I really want Rhea to come back. And as soon as she comes back, we go like, oh, right at the top, right where you were, and you've elevated the storyline up even more. Awesome. Like, you can't have much of a better return, I think, than the effect that Ripley's had on this show. It's fantastic. Love it all. Shall we see what you guys think?
Yes, I think we should.
But before we do, we have to say thank you this video's sponsor, Geology.
Let's do that.
Thank you so much, Geology. Dan, if you could be my
lovely assistant. Yeah.
assistant,
I love doing this.
Show off some stuff here while I talk about Geology. So, I mean, a lot of people here in WrestleTalk HQ use Geology. It's very beneficial for a lot of us. It's very important, and I think you can probably be a good salesperson for this.
Because I actually wash my face.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Good to have a good skincare routine.
It is.
It
is.
Particularly with male skincare routine, it's not quite the same marketed. Marketing wise, but Geology is really helping with that, and particularly where's the one that I really like? This one, I love this one because it's the eye cream, and I've got really dark circles under my eyes. And this really helps with that, and especially because for people like us, content creators, we're looking at screens all day, every day, and this really helps with particular eye strain signs on your face and stuff like that. What I personally love about Geology the most is that the pump system that it's got. You just do one pump on it, and it gives you the exact amount that you need. You don't have to mess about with it.
That's the thing about Geology that sort of takes away a lot of the thought out of having to do this skincare routine and whatever it is, because it's step 1, wash your face, step 2, do this, step 3, step 4, and it tells you exactly what you need to do. It kind of caters specifically to you. And also, aside from aesthetics of things, skincare actually is very important in terms of protecting yourself from the sun. The sun is beating down on us at all time, even through the clouds. UV rays can have an effect not just on aesthetic in terms of aging, but also in health terms. I know several friends who've had skin cancer be a serious issue. So things like there's SPF involved in some of the Geology products. So that's good. It's good to take control of your health and your skincare and all that. It's all part of it. And aesthetically, it's nice as well. And it just feels
100%.
Nice. It feels nice.
It just feels nice, right? And another fantastic thing about Geology is that it's a personalized skincare routine for your skin personally. You take an online quiz or a survey type thing, and they give you your own personal regimen that you have to follow. They give you the products that you need specifically, and also, because they're wonderful sponsors of this show, if you follow the link in the description, you go and take the personalized skincare trial set, you get 70% off that, and you get an additional 50% off any add-ons when you get added to the trial, which means you're getting over $49 worth of products for $15, which is pretty good savings, I would say.
Delightful.
70% off the 30-day sample set, and 50% off any add-ons. It's really, really good. So go click the link in the description. Get your Geology personalized skincare regimen today. Thank you so much, Geology, for sponsoring the WrestleTalk podcast. We're always very happy to have you because we really like Geology. So there you go.
Look after your skin.
Look after your skin.
Look after yourselves.
Link is in the description. Now, shall we do some UltraChats?
Yeah, go on then. Why not?
Dan, would you like to kick us off while
I will.
get the sheet open?
I'm going to kick us off with Geek of Arabia, who says, "Good show. Nice to have Rhea back. Calling it now, though. Rhea saying Dom belongs to her, while the inverse is not also true, is probably what seals his turn on her. Also, Priest trolling Dom like one does to their kid brother is just funny." That's it. I was very endeared to Damian Priest over the course of this episode. And that is, I think, when you're trying to set him up, they don't... I'll save it for the Priest and Gunther segment in terms of how they do turns these days. But it was just funny. I think that was it. That's why when you talk about Dom doing his turn on her, I just don't think that's on Dom's agenda, his character wise. It would feel kind of out of character for him to turn. I could see it, and you could make a justifiable argument for it. But I quite like. I think it's him being used as a pawn, and actually I think over the past sort of X number of months before Liv Morgan even really, it became abundantly clear that Liv was sort of Rhea was very affectionate towards Dom. I think it's not that he's not really a pawn anymore.
Yes.
And that's why she's sort of hurt.
Yeah.
I like it all.
Yeah, 100%. Kuzu said, Rhea returns and instantly becomes the focal point of the show. I honestly don't think this is the end, though. I feel like Dom is going to screw Rhea at SummerSlam, either accidentally or unintentionally. Very little wrestling, sadly, but good story progress.
Yeah, it was an interesting show, because I think in terms of story progression, it was real good on several different fronts. And then in terms of wrestling, some wrestling happened. Some of it was fine, some of it was fine, less than rather, and some of it was quite good. But I guess that's the WWE way, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
100%, yeah. Should we do the rest of the UltraChats later on? Because I believe they're about different parts of Raw.
Yes, let's.
That are not this
Get
one,
yours
but
in, WrestleTalk.com/support. Let us know what you think of the show.
What Dan said. We're going to read out
Because there was
all the ones.
a lot to talk about, especially when we get
Goodness
to the
me,
Wyatt
yes.
section as well.
Yes, 100%. That was the other big talking point of the show. But for now, let's talk about the rest of it, which, after the opening segment of Rhea, we had Sheamus versus Bronson Reed. Meaty boys. Wow, I said that, and then I looked at my notes, and my notes say meaty boys.
Yeah, well.
That's me being in sync with past me. Look at that. I think this was a decent little match. Just big meaty boys doing meaty things. There's a nice little spot where Sheamus managed to muscle him up for the white noise, which was really good. Got a massive pop. But Bronson Reed missed a huge moonsault, which was awesome. And then Sheamus just won with a knee as well. Not even a bro kick. Just the.
Well, he's been pushing the knee.
Yeah.
He's been doing. Was it called the kneecap or something? Like,
sure.
It's been given. He's been trying to push the knee recently.
Yeah, exactly. Which will be great because that will lead to a lot more like really convincing near falls. Because before when people go, oh, bro kick. Oh no, it's not a bro kick. It's a knee.
Yeah.
And either way now, it's going to be like, oh. It will be like a great near fall.
I always say that like the Blue Thunder Bomb should occasionally put people away.
I agree.
Or like your signature move should. A Cody Cutter, it would be because the Cody Cutter is the one I go to because it was on a certain show where it was like, how many people did he put away with that? And the answer is very few.
So little.
And actually, maybe on certain matches you should.
Yeah, I agree.
It should
110%. Yeah. Then afterwards, Pete Dunne comes out, saves Sheamus, does a little kick to Bronson Reed and gets him out the ring. Saves Sheamus as a payback for last week. But then he also then turns on Sheamus.
Yeah.
Hits him in the back, lays him out. So then Bronson Reed hits a tsunami on Sheamus. So Pete Dunne turns heel.
Yeah, except only because Sheamus is a babyface, not because he's not justified. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Not the most effective heel turn I've ever seen.
I see what you mean.
Why has he turned heel?
Well, so the justification is that Sheamus kind of abandoned the Brawling Brutes. And then we did.
Sure.
No? He did.
Did he?
Yeah.
Did he though?
Yeah.
Did he?
Yeah. He bailed on him.
Did he?
Yeah. Left him high and dry. Well, that's how Butch became Pete Dunne again.
Okay.
It was this whole thing, and that's when Ridge Holland left, I think.
Okay.
And then also it's this Pete Dunne has. I think the New Catch Republic were catching a little bit of fire. It's a real shame that Tyler Bate got injured because they were part of what I was really looking forward to, which is a nice, healthy tag division. Me and my tag teams. But I think part of the reason it feels a little bit heatless is that they've had to turn away from what they were going to do with the New Catch Republic and instead have Pete Dunne be your sort of solo guy. We know very well, as we all do, he is a great solo hand. He's someone you can rely on. And I think this is a really smart and neat way of giving him something new to do, and not just having him kind of in the similar way they did with Ivar when Eric was injured, just allowing him opportunity to be a sort of solo guy, give him a built-in connection with a person who you know he's going to have good chemistry with, and see where it goes, and over time you get heat. Over time, it's not something you can just expect. And in a way, Pete Dunne is quite cold, so it's quite nice for them to give him something that will warm him up a little bit.
100%. Thumbs up for giving Pete Dunne something to do.
Just not sure it's working.
Yeah, I'm not sure if this is the right thing for it. I don't mind him turning on Sheamus. I think that is a decent little thing. Just seemed to kind of come out of nowhere a little bit. Like there was the dissension last week where like, oh no, get away from me. And then this week he kind of
I think it's it's your justification internally, right? Which is where if it's me and it's my mate and he's sort of just left me high and dry, and then he goes off and does his own thing, and then comes back and then is like, yeah, everything's fine. Yeah, and I'm like, no. Yeah. Ridge left. I had a giant internal crisis. You can't just come back and pretend everything's fine. Like, where's your text been, mate? Yeah. I get it. It works for me.
I think that would have been maybe slightly more effective if they maybe explain that a little bit more in terms of either through, not saying they literally have to have a segment where Pete Dunne calls out Sheamus and says, you left me high and dry or whatever.
That
but
might be next week.
Yeah, maybe next week. But also, if he was angrier about it, it feels like he's just a bit like, he's just a bit like petty rather than just like actually justifiably angry at Sheamus abandoning him. He's just like, whatever.
Maybe they can go back to that coffee shop that him and Tyler Bate went to
maybe.
when he changed his name again.
Yeah, that'd be great. After that, we had a Judgment Day backstage segment. We'll get used to that. I'll say that a few more times. Then we had Sami Zayn backstage with Ilya Dragunov. Ilya's challenging for the Intercontinental Championship later on. And he said, thank you for the opportunity. And I also want to clarify, I didn't save you just so I could get a shot. Because I think that's very good work. Because I think some people would try and paint those dots, put those dots together, especially with WWE having more subtle storytelling like that. I think that's a perfectly reasonable thing that some people would assume that they had done that on purpose. But no, he's like, no, I'm just a good person. You know, I just wanted to save you. And then Sami hyped him up in a really good promo, being like, you're a really special talent. I asked for this match because you're a really special talent. You know, when you get in there and you're fatigued and exhausted and you're bruised and you're battered and you're red in the face and it's ugly, it's perfect because that's what it looks like when you're leaving everything in the ring, and you're that kind of talent. You better bring your absolute best tonight. And Ilya just says, yeah, you too. You better bring your best. I'm like, great.
Yeah,
really hope that match doesn't get ruined by anything.
It's probably fine. This is kind of what we were talking about yesterday on the pod, was Sami Zayn, Ultimate Hype Man, seeing opportunity in people, being the good guy, you know, almost making up for all the time he was in the bloodline kind of thing. And not directly. It's not like he's not gone, I'm seeking you out, Ilya Dragunov, because obviously he wasn't there. But there's something about him being this IC champ, almost even like, you know, opposite to Gunther, who was, I'm better than all of you. He's like, you're good and you deserve an opportunity, so come on, let's step it up kind of thing. Yeah, I really liked the whole segment.
Yeah. Something else I liked was this Gunther video package that came next. Him just saying like he wanted to save the Intercontinental belt from, you know, the doldrums. He had brought prestige to the NXT UK title, brought prestige, went to the main roster, wanted to target the Intercontinental title specifically because it's lost all its prestige, and he brought it back, and now he's going to do the same thing to the World Heavyweight title. It is so simple and so easy and perfect for Gunther.
It's just look at the material,
right?
Like, he's done it.
Yeah,
you know, and it's the something really interesting he mentioned in a interview recently, and it speaks to the style of booking that Triple H likes to do, which is he's not been on the show because there hasn't been a need for him. We speak about it a lot, or at least certainly I do, with Money in the Bank, where it's like, you've got the briefcase and now I'm just sort of killing time until you cash it in and then I'll decide what to do. That's certainly been the way the briefcase has been handled in the past X number of months. With King of the Ring, I've won the King of the Ring, I've got a championship match at SummerSlam. It's 2 months till SummerSlam. So rather than have Gunther come out and have exhibition matches that don't go anywhere, or give him a feud for a month that we inevitably know he's gonna win, or else what are you doing at SummerSlam? Having him sort of go away, he's Gunther, right? How much has he done? How much has he achieved over the past sort of year or so? He has put that level of energy and fire back on the Intercontinental title. He has put on... Sorry, I thought you were staring through me for a second.
No, I'm not.
There was a moment, because what you guys don't know, I need to explain this. The door just went, and it was next door.
Yes.
And then you kind of stopped. And I was like, has time stopped? And I don't realize. I didn't really know what was going on. No. Everything's fine.
My eyes just became unfocused for a second.
Okay, great. It was like the Truman Show for a second. I was like, wild. But yeah, he has put that prestige back on the Intercontinental title. He has put prestige back on King of the Ring in many ways.
100%, yeah.
He's done it. And so now he can stand there and say, I am threat, but I'll be there when I want to. And I actually prefer that they do things like this than just shove them in a program, because you got to keep them on telly.
110%, yeah. Perfectly agree. After that, we had Zelina Vega backstage saying that like she'll be next in line for the title. I'm sure you will, Zelina. That got interrupted by Sonya Deville, Zoe Stark, and Shayna Baszler, who said, actually, we're next in line because we're great. So then they'll have a fight tonight, which they did. It was Zelina Vega versus Sonya Deville. It lasted maybe 30 seconds.
It was like a minute. And, yeah.
Where Shayna immediately kind of interfered and wrapped her arm around and stomped on her arm, which looked really cool on the apron. It was a nice little spot. But then Sonya won, and then Zelina was saved from a post-match beatdown by Kaden Carter and Katana Chance and Lyra Valkyria.
Yeah. I liked the positioning of this more than I liked content and the execution.
Agreed.
Which is to say, like the Zelina Vega was like, I want that championship, and then Sonya Deville comes in and says, I also want that championship. Because that is a thing that I think Luke mentioned it on last week's show especially, which is like no one seems to be vying for the championship, and that's kind of an irritant because you should be. And here are two people saying, I would like a go at that belt. Whether or not they deserve one or will get one is a different issue. The fact that they want it is kind of what matters. And I have liked and been looking forward to and been intrigued by the Sonya, Zoe, Shayna unit. And I then was really into the idea of a quick squash match for Shayna just Sonya battering Zelina. I didn't need interference in this one. I think you almost could have had her just be like, right, here I am. I like the whole, Zelina's putting Vaseline on her face because she's getting ready for a scrap situation. I almost would have just liked for Sonya to just get in and just batter her. Because she's been away for so long, you can forgive Zelina Vega for underestimating Sonya Deville. Because not only was she away for so long, she was also, prior to that, part of a comedy tag team with Chelsea Green, and prior to that, a GM. Yeah. So, like, as I say, you could forgive Zelina for forgetting who Sonya Deville is, and that's actually what she's there to do. Hair up, square up, batter you, put you down in 1 minute, and then in comes Shayna Baszler to break your arm and Zoe Stark to have a go as well, and that's what brings out the party girls. Doing it that way and saving the interference moment for the tag team match, I think would have been a slightly more effective way of setting up Sonya Deville especially, but the trio as a whole. Yeah. And then, when we have the tag team match, I'll give my final thoughts on them.
Yes. We had another Judgment Day segment backstage, shocking, and Adam Pearce backstage was talking to some referees about something about later. He's got a segment plan for later, whatever it is. Chad Gable comes in and said, what is going to be the disciplinary action against Bo Dallas? Because he basically murdered me. And there's been nothing. So what's going to happen? And Adam Pearce says, well, Bo Dallas is here tonight. So if you want to talk to him, you can. Off you go. Chad's like, okay, I guess I'll call him out to the ring. Interesting. Talk more about that later. Damian Priest comes out to the ring. Calls out Gunther into the ring. And I thought this promo segment was pretty good.
Yes, it was.
I really liked it.
Yes, it was.
Aside from one line, but everything else, really, really good. Really liked one line. I'll get to that.
Okay.
So Gunther saying that, like, Damian Priest has been dreaming of being the world champion for a really long time, and he's not living up to it. Your reign has been nothing. You've got no prestige. We're not cut from the same cloth. I'll save you the embarrassment at SummerSlam. Just hand me the title now. And Priest is basically talking about his past and being like, I've had to fight and struggle for everything. You've been handed everything. I've been out fighting on the streets, and you've been gifted everything you've had in your career. Then Gunther says being on the streets is a choice. And I went, huh? And then afterwards, he's saying, it's kind of this, like, classist type thing where he's like, yeah, I have been handed everything, and also I'm awesome, and also you're also always going to be street trash, right?
Which did a little bit maybe start singing Aladdin.
Yeah, a little bit, yeah. But then Priest firing back and saying, like, for the first time ever after SummerSlam, Gunther's going to have to fight from the bottom with nothing handed to him because he will have nothing left. It's going to take everything from him. Like, that's a great line. I really like that. I don't know why Gunther said that being on the streets is a choice. It's just a weird line to me. But that's fine.
That's interesting because for me, it's not. I'm surprised that you think that's a weird line because
it's a weird line.
Because it's a lie that is based in what he believes to be truth, which is to say, everybody has the capacity and the ability to make the best lives for themselves.
Sure.
And thus, if you don't have opportunity, that's your own fault. And it speaks to, like, not to go off on a political rant here, but it's the whole idea of the whole idea of, like, welfare as a handout,
sure,
or a versus a leg up, right?
Yep.
So there's some people who see, like, the idea of welfare being a way of, like, helping you along on the journey, like, help from the state, and other people who see it as, well, why are you given a handout when actually, everyone has to just pull up the bootstraps and work hard, and if you pull up your bootstraps and work hard, you'll achieve, and you don't need to rely on whatever. That's the basis of what he's saying, right?
Yes.
But then also that's like the polite way of what he's saying. What he's actually then saying is, something which is quite like horrid to say, which is like homelessness is a choice, or like being on the streets is a choice, or whatever, which is not seeing the full picture of what happens to me, pristine, white guy, versus what happens to you growing up in, a different background kind of thing. It's I found it to be like a little bit insidious and a little bit gross, and I really liked that. I really appreciated that, because we need as much help to get Damian Priest in the babyface camp as we can, which is to say, he has been heel for so long. WWE like to do this kind of slow babyface turn these days. Or like with Drew McIntyre, it was a gradual turn into heeldom. And Triple H does tend to like to play with that Game of Thrones Shades of Grey kind of thing, with your good characters and your bad characters. Which comes into greater effect in the Drew McIntyre segment later on, by the way. But here, you've got someone who has been objectively heel for a really long time, now within a heel faction, having to find a way into the babyface camp. And to do that, you need your heel, Gunther, who we all adore from an in-ring perspective.
Absolutely.
You need him to be the heel and say the things that put enough sympathy on the character he needs to be the good heel that helps bring the babyface up. And I think this was a really effective way of doing that. It made me really cross at the character of Gunther and more sympathetic to the character of Damian Priest, who, has he been a massively effective world champion? I don't know, but that's because he's sort of been overshadowed by other feuds elsewhere. But it is undoubtedly giving sort of everything to this. And then talking about sympathy, his match at Clash, where he nearly sort of like broke his leg kind of thing, but sort of managed to find a way through it and did that sell job and really committed. I'm inclined to be sympathetic and respectful towards Damian Priest. This added to that for me. Does that make sense?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. And I think the rest of the segment was great in doing that. And I'm not opposed to the storyline of Gunther being like, yeah, I've been handed everything and I'm awesome and you're terrible because you weren't. That all completely worked for me. It's literally just that wording of one line. It's like, being on the streets is a choice. It's like, I don't know.
But it isn't.
It's that one bit.
Does it feel weird to you because that is objectively a false statement?
Yes, I think so. It's one of the things where I was pulled out of the segment for a second to be like, whoa, like...
Well, so that's interesting.
You know what I mean?
No, totally, because it's one of those things where if it pulls you out of a set... Like, people's responses to things are completely their own, and there's no right or wrong and subjective. It's subjective. But like, if I'm saying that line is effective and you're saying it pulled you out, then we have that's within the writing room. That's what you have a conversation.
That's just
about.
A difference of opinion.
But it is interesting.
But yeah. But I think the rest of it totally worked for me. I really enjoyed this segment, and I think that having that dynamic of Gunther just being like, I'm just better than you because I can prove it with my whole life. I've been fantastic. I don't mind him, calling him street trash and stuff like that. That's totally fine, because Priest just said, I was fighting on the streets and all that stuff. I think this is a really good dynamic to try and get more babyface sympathy for Priest.
It's also, sorry, I've just realised in you reminding me that he said that, it's also hypocritical for him to say it's a choice, because he's then saying you're always going to be street trash. Which is to say you'll never be able to get to my level.
Yes.
Even though he's the world champion, has fought his ass off, is in this position.
Yeah.
So it's not a choice then, is it?
Yeah.
Because you are someone who keeps the status quo as it is, so that's again the hypocrisy of it. It's the false statement and the hypocrisy of it. It was, I thought it was a really effective segment overall.
Absolutely still was,
and like,
because I breezed past it. It was that moment of being like, and then I got back into it again. It was just that momentary
it was uncomfortable. A
little bit.
I also feel like it's like a million miles away from I suppose Pete Dunne's heel turn earlier on, where it's like, I've just hit you in the back, and that means I am heel now, versus as I say, the gradual sort of baby faceification of Damian Priest.
100%. After that, we got confirmation of Jey Uso versus Dominik Mysterio for later. Jey Uso was very happy about it. And in the same segment, we had Jey Uso walking away, and then Bron Breakker came in, who was very upset with Adam Pearce, saying, like, why is Ilya Dragunov got another shot at the IC belt? And Pearce was like, dude, you lost at Money in the Bank. What are you complaining about? And Breaker's like, cool, I'm just going to go spear everybody in the match. I'm going to go destroy him. And he's like, well, I thought you might. Hey, security, can we get him out? And he's like, it's fine. I know where the door is. And Pearce says, security, make sure that he doesn't come back. And I was like, yeah, I'm really convinced. Like, obviously Breaker's going to come back. Come on. I'm not stupid.
Yeah. I mean, there's a world where this is a really smart way of having us know that Breakker is not in the building.
Yeah.
To allow for to remove that energy. It's just I don't think at any point I thought that was what was happening.
No, like, come on, what are 4 security guards going to do against Bron Breakker? Like,
we've established he's free.
We've proven that Bron can break past that. So, like, unless we literally see him get in the car and drive away,
yes,
and even then, right? I'm never going to believe that he's gone. Like, so instantly I was like, okay, well that match is ending in DQ. Like, cool. We then had, I've written down Damian Priest versus Gunther. That's incorrect. We had Damian Priest versus Braun Strowman, which happened next. So Braun came out at the end of that last segment. I thought this was a great choice of opponent for Damian Priest to showcase how he works against a larger opponent in someone like Gunther at SummerSlam and all that stuff. The answer is knees. That's how he handles big opponents. Strowman did a big run around the ring, but tried to do a big charge into the barricade, but Priest moved, so he injured his knee on the barricade as he went over it, and then Priest just targeted the knee from then on, and then won with the South of Heaven. It was a decent little match. I liked it.
It's easy to forget that Priest is massive, isn't it?
Big dude.
Because when he goes up against a McIntyre, a Strowman, a Gunther, he does sort of look a little bit like the underdog. So you're right, it is a good choice to sort of like plonk. And also it's a good choice because Strowman has had run-ins with the Judgment Day elsewhere as well, so there's a natural flow to that, which I think is really nice to see.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, this was like as I said sort of earlier on in the show, the wrestling itself wasn't anything special, but I don't think it needed to be because it was there to advance the storyline, and I think it did that effectively.
Yeah. Backstage, we had the Alpha Academy minus Chad, and they were saying to each other, you know, it was Otis and Cesaro and Maxine, and they're saying, you know, I've kind of been talking to him. I really feel like we should help him. You know, he's our friend. And you see Chad Gable in the background listening in, which is great. Pokes his head round, listening in, which is great. And he's like, yeah, I've got him. Comes around the corner and says, oh, so great to hear that you guys have come to my way of thinking. So great that you come around, which means you're going to be backing me up when I go and call out Bo Dallas to the ring later. Fantastic. And then Maxine's like, ooh, actually, we weren't talking about you. I'm like, what? We were talking about Xavier Woods walks in and saying, yeah, we're gonna help him because Kofi's out now, so we're gonna back him up against the Final Testament. And Chad's like, seriously? Like, you're gonna help Woods and you're not gonna help me? And he's like getting in Otis's face, just being like, really? That's your choice? And he goes, yes, that's my choice. And then he storms off. I'm like, that's great. Really like that.
Everything is a lot longer under Triple H's booking, and I think
better and for worse.
yeah, true. And like there is Luke's line is that there's a difference between long-term storytelling and stories that take a long time to tell.
Yeah,
and there is.
Yes,
and yet
100%.
I don't mind. I might be in the minority here. I don't know. I'd love to hear what people say in the UltraChats, but like I don't mind the way that this story is sort of meandering a little bit, because I think there is something in the untangling of ourselves from our relationships, which is what Otis is doing. And he spoke about how important Chad Gable was to supporting him, and then we got a lot of that real life stuff where you know, Otis in real life had been like very close with Chad. So I feel like I'm quite happy for this to take a while. Do you know? And
also, I feel like it took a very big step later on.
Yes.
You know?
I thought it took a big step here with Otis doubling down on himself.
Yeah.
And having that moment, because we haven't really had that, like, Chad Gable in his face moment where he says, fully no. Like, where it seems to not even slightly faze him at this point.
Yeah.
That was a big step. And then we had a big step later on as well.
Also, another one later on. So, yes, I thought this was a great segment. Really like that. We had Chance and Carter versus Baszler and Stark, which did go more than 30 seconds. That's a plus. I was not confident that it was gonna, but it did. I thought this was a really fun match.
Yeah.
I really liked some of the offense that Chance and Carter got in here. I thought they were really, really fun.
Yeah, it surprised me. I think they're ice cold, which is a shame when your division is 5 teams big over the course of 3 different shows.
Yeah.
But they reminded me of why I like to see them wrestle sometimes, and their double team offense is quite good.
Yeah.
I thought the cake stand to the outside was great, and and I think clearly they did too.
Yes.
Because there's a moment they're going, ah! which was fun. But I also think Zoe and Shayna have some good... I like them as a unit anyway. Adding Sonya to it and giving them a bit of bite is good. Where I was going to draw a little criticism was like, I'd like now, and if this isn't really a criticism as much as it is a polite request, I'd like to know specifically what it is that Sonya has done that has made them realize that they're it as a unit.
100%.
I think it was lyrical. Maybe it was. I can't remember who I saw that. I saw a similar sort of take on Twitter. But I agree with it completely. It's like, what is it that is it just that she's gone, you're quite good, and they've gone, yeah, or is it that they're like training together? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I really like them as a unit. Yeah.
Stark and Basin won with the powerbomb into the knee thing, which is great. We then got a recap of The Miz playing golf. I didn't like it. There was just a lot of Pat McAfee being like, guys, it's really famous people. We're really cool. I promise we're really cool hanging with really famous people.
One of the most famous people on the planet.
Yes, exactly. And it's just to be like, we're cool because we get to hang with them. WWE's really cool, guys. It's like, Pat, shut up, dude.
I actually don't mind these segments because it means I can go and get a drink. Do you know what I mean? Like, if I'm watching the show live, I don't really mind.
Yeah.
And like, and you sort of should, but WWE. This is a whole separate podcast. But WWE are always going to be the sort of outsider of the cool thing. Yeah. So they are even in the Attitude Era when they were as hot as they were, they were always like, hey, look, Ben Stiller's here. Do you know? Like, it will always be that way.
Yeah. We had another Judgment Day segment backstage. Woo! And then we had Adam Pearce coming out to the ring to potentially reverse the suspension of one Drew McIntyre. I loved this segment. Drew comes out and says he wants this match more than anything in the world. With CM Punk, that is. Adam Pearce being like, I want to see it. I think everybody else here wants to see it. I can make this match official right now. All I need you to do is apologize to these two referees that you attacked. And Drew says, why would I apologize to them? And Pearce is like, dude, you attacked them. They got injured. I just need you to apologize to them. And Drew says, no. And he just goes off on one. And he's like, I can't believe these people have been screwing me over all year at WrestleMania and at Money in the Bank and at Clash at the Castle. Everybody's been screwing me over. I'm pissed off with the referees. I'm pissed off with you, Adam Pearce. I'm pissed off with Seth Rollins, who thinks he can jump ahead of me in the queue to get to CM Punk. I can't take any of this anymore. And Pearce is like, okay, well, you're still suspended then.
Mm-hmm.
You idiot. You know, in that sort of tone, just be like, fine, you're still suspended then. You idiot. I was going to undo this so you can get your match, and you wasted it. And Drew then has the very slow turn. The very annoyed slow turn at Adam Pearce. Pushes over the referees again. Looks like he's going to attack Adam Pearce. Then Seth Rollins comes out. Makes the save. And Drew storms out. I thought this was great.
I loved this. This was tasty. Because on what planet should Drew McIntyre apologize to those referees? Right, honestly.
Yeah.
Like, because like am I misremembering, or I don't remember when he beat up these refs.
I think it was at the Money in the Bank post show.
Oh, did he hit them there?
And it was they were trying to stop him, and he was
because he did that to
people and all that stuff.
I thought it was more to do with in the matches. They've been hit with claymores or like.
It could be that too. I can't even.
Because if it was that, well, it's not his fault. And also, but even if that's the case,
yes,
you would never make CM Punk do this.
Mm-hmm.
Pearce hasn't done anything to CM Punk where he's like, bro, you interrupted the main event. You pretended to be a referee.
Mm-hmm.
Then at Money in the Bank, you interrupted that match as well.
Yep.
He has faced no real consequences in the same way Drew McIntyre has. And maybe, I can't remember off the top of my head if there were fines involved for Punk, if they've said that. But Drew McIntyre lost championships, lost the opportunity in his hometown, lost the opportunity in his Money in the Bank briefcase as well. So he's materially lost more than CM Punk has and been suspended as a result. You'd never do that to CM Punk. And so Drew McIntyre is once again massively justified for his behavior, even if his behavior is a bit heelish. And I absolutely adore it.
And I also love as well, if it is him accidentally hitting referees in matches, or whether it is him elbowing them beforehand as well, all he has to do is say, I'm sorry. And
Yeah.
he gets the thing that he wants, and he can't do it.
Because
I
his
love
pride is in the
his
way, but
pride is
also
so much.
it is kind of emasculating. Like,
Yeah,
not to
I get that.
be all gender roles on
Yeah,
it, but
yeah,
Captain Gender Roles, but it's like, it is emasculating to have him like get on his knees and grovel to these referees.
Yeah.
He's Drew McIntyre.
Yeah.
Also, you could have done this backstage in your office and it be quietly and not in front
Mhm.
but you've brought him out of the ring to make a show of him in a way that you would never do to CM Punk.
Mhm.
And he is so justified in I think, saying, I'm not playing your games, sod ya. I've been cheated a bunch. Because he has been.
Yeah.
And then, so then you've got Seth coming down as well, and this whole business of Seth and Drew. So I'm looking ahead, and I'm like, what if you do Seth and Punk first?
Mhm.
Because Drew is still injured, and then maybe Drew gets involved. Maybe this is a way you can do that triple threat initially, and maybe starting with a triple threat isn't the worst thing in the world. I'm... If the question is it's stale and I want to see what's happening next, to me the answer is no. Like, I want to know what's coming. I'm intrigued by... it just keeps being Bad Blood, and maybe Bad Blood is where... I noticed, by the way, Bad Blood's logo is a square. Bad Blood is famous for Hell in a Cells, so maybe there'll be a Hell in a Cell match.
I think
Bad
they
Blood.
did say that it was going to be a... Well,
I didn't read the press
I think
releases.
there was a... I don't think it was a press release. I think it was just a report, just being like, I think they're going to bring Bad Blood back, and I think they're also going to do a Hell in a Cell at that show.
I probably will, let's be honest.
Yeah.
But like, I either way, the only reason I brought that up was because I remembered the CM Punk saying, "I'm glad you're not booking the show if you're going to start with a Hell in a Cell match."
Yes.
Because I saw elsewhere as well someone saying that about the idea of them doing a triple threat between the three of them. I kind of don't mind that either.
But the
I
thing
don't
is,
know, it
it's
works.
SummerSlam.
Yeah.
So if you're going to do a triple threat between these people that have kind of been feuding since before WrestleMania, SummerSlam is a good place to do that.
Why not?
You know?
It's an arena, it's a stadium show.
Yeah, 100%.
I just really enjoyed it. I'm into it.
Yeah, I don't mind what combination they go with because I think all of them are good.
Yeah, that's
They do
it.
Punk McIntyre, they do Rollins Punk, or they do a triple threat. I'm like, cool.
I think the only thumbs down would be Rollins and McIntyre and Punk interferes. I think that would be
agree.
like you've spun that far.
I don't want to do Rollins McIntyre unless Punk literally isn't medically cleared.
Yeah.
That would be the downside.
Yes.
Which, you know, if he's not medically cleared, not much you can do about it.
Right.
Which would be a shame.
Yeah.
But, you know, is what it is. After that, God, we have a lot to talk about, and we've already been going for nearly an hour.
Welcome to the Raw podcast, Pete.
Yeah, I know. It's a long show.
You keep
What happens?
3 hours of programming, and
Yeah.
they pack things in these days.
Okay, so we have the latest Wyatt 6 VHS tape that was delivered on the Pat McAfee show. Got delivered to Raw here, and it's with Eric Rowan. Now, I'm just going to read out some stuff. Basically some direct quotes from this, because I think it's great. So you have the voice of, presumably, Uncle Howdy, who says, "How have you been?" to Eric Rowan. We don't see Uncle Howdy or anybody in this segment apart from Rowan. Rowan says, "The last few years have been very, very hard. You know, I used to have a family. We were unstoppable, inseparable. We always had each other's backs, and then one day, the whole world changed. I lost a brother. The person in this world who believed in me more than anyone else, just gone. It knocked me on my ass, I'm not going to lie. But in those situations, you get up and you wipe the dust off and you keep moving because that's what you got to do. But just when I thought I had everything going, my other brother, he's gone too. I had no more family. I fell down a well. I couldn't get out. Why? Why would I want to get out? I was catatonic, numb to the world. Who's going to miss me? I'm just Rowan." Which I thought was a brilliant line. The voice comes back and says, how does this make you feel? And hands him the sheet mask from when he was in the Wyatt family. And he said, "It gives me hope. When I was at my lowest and he reached out to me and pulled me out, I knew I needed help. I got up and now I had a purpose in my life, a purpose to help those like myself. This reminds me of that beacon of hope. We're going to take our broken hearts and make some beautiful art." And that is how it ended. I love this so much. The performance from Rowan was brilliant. A very emotional performance from him. Crying at some points and stuff like that. Phenomenal stuff. And just adding to all of these layers of trauma that the Wyatt Six are kind of presenting. I love his analogy of essentially like depression, of falling down a well and not being able to get out, and then at some point being like, well, why would I want to get out? You know, that kind of turmoil while you're in that space. All of this I thought was an absolute home run segment. I love this so much.
Yeah, I did too. I thought it was exceptional. I think the content of it, specifically the line I can't remember specifically what it was, but like, who cares about Rowan kind of thing.
Yeah. Who would
Rowan.
miss me? I'm just Rowan.
Right, which is like so cold.
Yeah.
But also I've been there,
Mm-hmm.
and also I think a lot of people have, and also you can kind of justify it because Bray, world champion, Luke Harper, Intercontinental champion, goes off and is Mr. Brody Lee and is iconic in his own way. And then there's Eric Rowan, who has a stairs match with the Big Show and like is also at some points like released and not the big thing or whatever.
He's got pinned by The Rock at WrestleMania 32 in several seconds.
Exactly.
You know?
Like he's the third one.
Yeah, exactly. He's the third member of the Wyatt family.
And then Rowan.
Yeah.
Right? So there's a justification to his feeling like that.
100%.
And this segment showed why that's wrong
in
a way that his work has elsewhere as well. But this segment was like, remember, actually, there's a reason that he's part of this unit. There was a reason that these people are his brothers and that they were a sort of trio together. I actually thought this was real special, and I really, if you only watch one segment from this show, let it be this one, because the hype is real. Like the performance of it was spectacular, knowing it comes from a real place, but also weaving that, as they have done so well with the Wyatt Six so far, into the fiction. Like the take your broken heart and turn it to art line is some, I don't know where it originally comes from, but I ascribe it to Carrie Fisher because she used to say it, and she when Meryl Streep got her special award, a Lifetime Achievement Award, Carrie Fisher had just passed away, and she sort of referenced it in that speech. So I always think about it whenever I'm trying to be a creator. So to hear him say that, I was like, yeah, that's what you're doing here. It's all of them, and it's I think we've all wanted the best for this Wyatt Six story, and I think it is still in the course of playing out and showing us what it is and revealing itself to us. Things like this extend that goodwill.
Yes. By
being just good.
Yep.
Just real good stuff.
Yep. 110%. Love this. Perfect segment. No notes. We then had Dominik Mysterio versus Jey Uso, which we spoke about earlier. We then had a Judgment Day backstage segment. Then we had Chad Gable coming out.
Stop whinging about the good.
I'm not whinging. I'm just pointing out there's a lot of segments. We then had Chad Gable coming out to the ring to call out Bo Dallas. And I loved Chad Gable's through line on this show, that he had this big reveal that, guys, Uncle Howdy is actually Bo Dallas, and he thinks he's a genius for figuring it out, and I think that's really funny. So he did that here to the live crowd, saying like it's actually Bo Dallas, and he calls him out to the ring for some consequences for his actions. And Bo Dallas comes out.
He just comes out.
Bo Dallas
no
is
music,
here.
no anything.
Nothing. He just walks out, and everyone's like, "Yeah, Bo Dallas! Hey, that's cool. We get to see not Uncle Howdy, but Bo Dallas just walk out."
He looked real cool, by the way. His
great.
outfit was great.
Very, very good. But before he can even get to the ring, the Creed brothers attack him on the ramp, smash him into the ring post, beat him up all around the ring, get him into the ring, and now we've got this new faction of Chad and the Creed brothers, which has always been hinted at for a very long time. But now the Creed brothers are in suits. So that's how you know they're heels now. Now it's the new Alpha Academy, right? And this is what we were talking about earlier with the next step of that story, with Otis doing a very firm no to Chad Gable. And also
not
Chad,
in suits.
Not in suits, crucially. But then now we have the Creed brothers kind of enacting Chad's will and very much aligning themselves with him in the ring in this segment. That story is being developed. And just when you think that might be the end of it, you know, it's just there to form this new faction and do a beatdown on Bo Dallas. No, because Bo then starts laughing. And everyone goes, whoa, that's not good. And then they beat him up some more, and he's still laughing. And they beat him up some more, and he's still laughing. And Chad loses it, grabs his face, and be like, what are you laughing at? What is so funny? What are you laughing at, Bo? And he just looks at him and just says, there you are. And then the lights cut out. Rest of the Wyatt Six come out, and I cannot put over enough. This shot looked so effing cool.
Which shot?
The light on the stage and the silhouettes emerging from the shadows was so perfect.
Yeah.
if you have not seen it, please watch it because it is a perfect shot.
It was the way the light is there, Nikki moves through, and then as she's moved through, it almost just reveals 3 more have materialized. Like they've come through a portal.
Yes.
I don't know how it happened.
Oh, it's perfect.
But I leant in and I went, that's sick. It was so good.
Yep. Oh, saw that and I was like, oh,
Yeah.
like these beasts emerging from the shadows of this portal or whatever. Like, oh, it looks so good. They come down to the ring, taking their time, of course. They're in no rush. And Chad and the Creed brothers just run.
Yeah.
Because what else
It's
are you
like they've
do?
spent a bit of that time debating how do we respond to this? And their solution is get out of Dodge.
I think we just run.
Yeah.
So then they did. And they run away. And Bo Dallas poses with the rest of them. And it is still Bo Dallas. He hasn't transformed into Uncle Howdy or anything, which I thought was a possibility. But still just Bo Dallas. And he poses with the rest of them. And the segment ends. And it's still so cool.
Yeah. So... that point about Bo Dallas staying Bo Dallas, I spent the whole time thinking, are they going to turn him into Uncle Howdy?
Yeah.
This is, again, another example of how they keep it real and grounded. And I know that there's still smoke, and I know that there's still the music and the sounds as the thing he goes down. But by keeping him as Bo Dallas and not having him secretly surprise transform into Uncle Howdy, I think that shows... the difference in a certain way. Again, still, I'm allowing the space and time for it to be what it is and to reveal itself fully. But my word, the atmospheric nature of even the fact that when they were doing the battering, I sort of started to see a little bit of smoke showing up on the by the stage. I was like, what's going down here? Yeah. What's going to happen?
Yeah.
What it was for me was the Creeds and Chad Gable look like jocks.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
Like 80s movie jocks, like from the movie Heathers jocks. The two guys that are stupid, and even down to Chad Gable being like, "Oh, guys, it's actually Bo Dallas." Like we've been new.
Yep.
But revealing it to us like he's smart, it makes him that kind of jock versus left aside nerd kid who they start their own sort of cult situation. I absolutely loved. And again, now Chad Gable as their first target makes some more sense to me. When Bo Dallas says, "There you are," oh, that was creepy. That chilled me. And you could tell it did to sort of Chad as well, which, I quite liked that. Because it's like, we have revealed you to yourself. I, Bo Dallas, who I'm also Uncle Howdy, have revealed my Wyatt family members to be who they are. I've allowed them to come into their... What's the... Bask in your glory is Keith Lee, but what was the line he always said early on with do you know what I mean? There was like a someone in the chat will know it, so I'm gonna maybe have you go over and have a look. But there was a line about like revel in your glory or something like that.
Yeah,
revel in your true self. He's done that for his faction, and they've done that for Chad Gable. Yeah, it's just that his glory, his truth, whatever it is that he's reveling in, is villainous.
Yes,
compared to what the White Six perceive themselves to be. I absolutely adored everything about this. The closing visual. I someone made a fan edit of the entrance to Shatter, Bray's theme. Yeah, it fits perfectly right down to the moment that he does this. Yeah, that's when the big crescendo chorus hits in. It made me want to weep. Like I saw it to the point where I'd like that music to come back. I don't know if they will, but we got it.
Revel in who you are.
Revel in who you are. There you are. Yeah. And that is what Uncle Howdy's all about. Absolutely sensational stuff. Yeah. Absolutely love it.
One more point that me and Ollie did a reaction video on the main WrestleTalk channel earlier to the Eric Rowan VHS tape and the segment here. And it's a point that he brought up that originally Sat brought up, which is in the Bray Wyatt LA Knight feud. It very much felt like LA Knight was the jock in a horror movie who doesn't quite get it. Right. That sort of vibe of just being like, I don't have time for this spooky stuff. I don't get what's going on. The jocks here are the new Alpha Academy, Gable and these guys. And they're kind of in that sort of same spot of...
Well, I suppose...
It's jocks versus weird kids, like you were saying. Yeah. But it's also like jocks in the horror movie. Yeah. Who are just like...
Okay, and I suppose who
I don't
was...
know what we're doing
Because it never really got a chance to get going, did it? And who was next on Bray's list? Bobby Lashley. Yeah. Who could also fit into your cool jock mold. Yep. No nose.
Great. Love it. So then we have the main event.
Yeah, this is a shame.
Which Sami Zayn versus Ilya Dragunov for the Intercontinental Championship. I can't believe I'm complaining about it. Yet here we are. My first note is, this is ending in DQ via Braun Breaker. And then my next note is, wow, I can't believe I called that.
Yeah.
Like, so telegraphed.
Yes, it was.
What's the point, is what I say to this one. I think DQs get a bad rap in wrestling because of the decades of WWE just doing them because they wanted a finish. It was like a DQ, we don't really want these people to lose. DQs aren't inherently a bad thing, and you can tell some good stories with a DQ finish. There are reasons why you would do a DQ finish. This I do not think is one of them. I'm a bit tired of these DQ finishes when you can see them coming a mile away. I think you could do a DQ finish here to debut a new act. You know, if you're going to have if the Shield debut, right? It happened in a triple threat, so it wasn't a DQ, but that sort of thing where you interrupt a match and you beat people down and blah, blah, blah. That's a worthwhile use of a DQ finish because the new thing that you're doing furthers some other grander story than what the match is telling. This is Sami Zayn and Ilya Dragunov having a match, and then Breaker going like, no.
Mm-hmm.
And then the show ends with Breaker spearing them both. That could have happened in any match across the show. It doesn't further anything, apart from the fact that Breaker wants the IC title, which we already knew. Nothing's been added to this. This is just the same stuff that Breaker's been doing for a long time now, which is great. I love Breaker, and I love his spears, and he's fantastic. But we're still kind of at the same point. This hasn't furthered a story. There was no point to this DQ finish. It just is a thing that happened on the show, which is the only thing that happened on the show, because the rest of it was all furthering stories.
Yeah.
This felt like the only thing on the show that was just kind of stagnant. And that is frustrating to me.
Yeah, I think all of that's fair. The show itself had been so good that it kind of... when I say it's a shame, it's just like because it didn't fit in keeping with the rest of what I think had been quite a brilliant episode of the show, to be honest with you. For me, it's one of those where I'm like, by putting the title on the line, you telling me it's going to end a certain way.
Yeah.
I think had it just been like Sami versus Ilya, I might have believed that maybe Ilya might get a win, and and especially when you take Braun out of the equation for a while, maybe we could, and maybe that's a way to do it, and you actually have them go hard on each other, and Ilya... Sami just escapes with the win, and you go, hang on, Ilya Dragunov is really serious.
100%.
And then after the fact, through the crowd breaks through Braun Breaker. Ending in a DQ finish does feel, I think, cheap. To be honest with you, I'm gonna have forgotten about it next week, maybe.
Yeah.
And I won't care as much. It's not. There are some elements where I'm like, it's not that deep. And for me, it's not that deep because there are so many elements elsewhere where I care more about it. It's just. I don't think that critique is unfair, if that makes sense. I don't think that the take Luke's been saying for weeks now there's been too many DQs and it's lazy and I get it. I completely get it. And actually for me there was an element of even that high angle shot of Braun running around the ring and hitting a spear is a little bit... I've seen it.
Yeah, I've seen it now.
Which is weird to think about because I was so high on it when it first happened.
Oh god, it's so good though.
So yeah, I think this was the wrong choice to end the show, certainly. I also think it was the wrong choice to further the storyline. But elsewhere, I'd had such a good time that,
Yeah, like, it didn't ruin my enjoyment of the show.
Yeah.
I think it was still good. It was a poor choice to have this close the show, though in kayfabe, it makes perfect sense because you're going to have an Intercontinental Championship match on the show. Of course, it's going to be the main event. In kayfabe, it makes perfect sense to have this be your last match.
And then, Pierce is going to be cross at Braun Breaker for doing this again, even after he'd had an escape. You could make the argument that it makes Braun Breaker look badass because he had these 4 security guards and he's lost them, but we didn't see that, and I'd almost rather we'd seen that after the match.
Yeah.
Do you know?
Yeah.
So that we can have our cake and eat it.
Yeah. I just feel like was lacking this one. Everything else on the show felt very, very well thought out, very well structured, very well paced and everything. I've been joking about the amount of Judgment Day segments, but that was actually, they all furthered a story. They all told a through line through the whole show. They all furthered the story. They all told this show long narrative, and this thing at the end just kind of didn't. It was just there, which is it's a shame because that is the last thing on the show as well.
Yes, that's
that's
moment.
Especially bad. But
Anyway,
let us know what you guys think. Last chance to get in your ultra chats at WrestleTalk.com/support. Before we get to the last of those, we have to say thank you to some very special people, and those are our Pledgehammers over on our Patreon page, patreon.com/WrestleTalk. Bunch of stuff over there, exclusive content. WrestleTalk Extra, where Ollie and Luke will review like a whole arc of a thing for so many hours. It's crazy. They're covering the breakup of the Shield, which is now like 40 hours plus of content, just going over that whole time period. Awesome. Love that. Exclusive episodes. You get 1 week early access to Monday Night War.
Hello.
Hello. We're getting close towards the end of that season now.
Yeah.
Oh, we've got early access on Patreon right now. It's for episode 20. So that is the final PLE before WrestleMania. So then we've got the last PLE cycle to go. Stop calling it pape. It's one of my least favorite things in the world. But also you get, at some tiers as well, you get a very special shout out on a show like this one. And you get your own personalized wrestling nickname. So thank you to the Gaelic Storm, Heather Murphy.
Murderous James Murter.
WrestleTalk's personal problem solver, Jamie Donovan.
Top Flight, Jared Martin.
Spoken class today. I'm not going to sing it like Luke does. Jeremy Smith.
John Jenkinson, son of Jenker.
The Saint, Joshua Peters.
The heir to the throne, Kate Ayers.
Manipulating Manu Maria.
The needs of the many Cornish outweigh the needs of the few.
Have a glass of sherry, Martel J. Simmons.
And the real boss, Matt Robinson.
Very good. Thank you
I like
so
it when
much.
they go on too long. It really tickles me.
What, the names in particular?
Yeah.
Oh, it's great, isn't it? Anyway, let's get into the remainder of your Ultra Chats here. Thank you once again to Geology for sponsoring this episode.
Yes,
Click
indeed.
the link in the description. Get 70% off your trial set today, and 50% off all add-ons too. Blake Whitehouse said, Bron Breakker is in really great shape with all that DQ he gets. I bet he's tried all the blizzards by this point. What?
Yeah, I don't
Am
get
I
that
missing
either.
something?
No, I'm not sure. But
Okay.
I'm sure Blake knows.
I'm sure it's a thing we
And
don't
I'm sure
get.
other people do as well.
Seriously though, out of his last 4 matches, he's lost 3 by DQ and caused another DQ on Raw. So far, his clean loss to Sami was the wrong call.
Yeah, I thought it was the wrong call at the time, but
Yeah.
you don't know until these things play out.
Yeah, for sure. Kevin said, I jokingly said, Rowan, surely Braun has a cell phone, right? But then I remembered that Braun was the black sheep of the family. He was never fully a member of their family, kayfabe obviously. So in Rowan's eyes, he was all that was left. The feelings. Overall, this is one of the funniest episodes of Raw I've seen, with Chad being awesome, Zelina cooking on the mic, Carlito being Carlito, and Priest laughing his socks off every time Dom was in trouble. Good show and hype for SummerSlam.
Yeah, Zelina was quite funny on
Yes.
this particular episode. I enjoyed
agree.
that.
Yeah. This was very, very good. Space Viking said, what if the reason why we haven't heard the full Wyatt song is because they replace it with the old Def Rebel special? Also notice how Priest feels like a new man. Makes me wonder how his reign would have been if Rhea didn't get hurt.
I hope that they don't replace it with a Death Rebel special.
No.
But yeah, it is. I agree. The Priest does feel like a new man as we go, and I almost, I still think Gunther's the one who's going to take the belt, but I feel like it's like a shame we didn't get more of this sooner. I think.
Agreed. Excuse me. D-Man Gamer, or D-Man Gamer, has been a member for 3 months in a row. Who said, that Rowan segment had me holding back tears while watching it. So emotional. Can't wait for the other tapes, but they should keep a VCR at commentary.
That's a very long cable to go all the way from. Well, I suppose they do anyway. The VCR,
Yeah.
they don't have a SCART lead long enough.
No, they really
Yeah.
don't. Yeah. Mike said, mad about that Zelina squash. I get they want to build up the Sonya, Shayna, Zoe faction, but even though they've been giving her a decent push in the last few weeks, Zelina's in desperate need of a win. If she's going to lose, give her more than a minute.
I see your point. There is a hierarchy. Zelina at this point is in a similar situation to, who am I going to pluck out? I suppose a Pete Dunne, or maybe even a Bronson Reed.
Sure.
Like, she's someone who needs a win, but is also, she recently had a title match. She's expendable in this moment to go back to the bottom of the ladder and then work her way back up.
Mm-hmm. Sky Shadowrun said, think it was a bad warning, but I didn't like this episode. Lyra feels like she's fallen down the card quickly. I can't wait for Jimmy to give Jay something to do. Wyatt stuff was great, but Chad feels like he's back to goofy heel. Braun was predictable AF.
That's fair enough. I do agree that Lyra has fallen down the card a little bit, but also this is part of the problem with the women's division across the company, which is that they don't seem to know how to give them stuff to do outside of there being titles.
Yeah, 100%. Rafael Garcia said, I wasn't very fond of Raw. The classes promo from Gunther featuring the callback of the Triple H People Like You promo was very weird. I would have preferred Drew to Claymore Pierce mid-suspension, and Zelina got squashed. She was just in a feud for the belt. Yeah, I get where people are coming from with that. CK said, hello, I hope you're well. I don't watch WWE regularly, but the recent weeks made me want to start. Drew is killing it. Rhea is amazing. And as someone with a Firefly tattoo, the Wyatt 6 is very much down my dark alley. Pete, I love your tea. What is it? Tattoo, I assume.
T-shirt.
T-shirt. Tattoo.
Tea.
Tea.
T-shirt.
Cup of tea.
No, T-shirt. That's what T means. If it was a tattoo, they'd say tattoo. If they said tea, they'd been. It's a T-shirt. What's your T-shirt? Pete?
Testosterone.
Stop it.
It's D&D. It's a beholder. It's the eye of the beholder.
This is why we don't give Pete compliments.
I got it at a con. It's very nice. I like it. Lumberjack92 said, fantasy booking here. Would love to see Dom choose Liv at SummerSlam, cost Rhea the belt, and leave Judgment Day. Then have Liv admit to using him, ditching him, and forcing Dom to try and make amends with Ray because he has no one left to go to.
Interesting. I almost was like, when I think fantasy booking wise, sometimes I'm a little bit like, maybe Dom chooses Liv, but she rejects him immediately, and then they're all left with nothing, kind of thing. But I don't really have Ray anywhere in.
Yeah, I don't either.
I think save it for when Ray's fully retiring.
Yeah. That'd be cool, yeah. Geek of Arabia said, Eric Rowan video was also excellently done. Just like with Bo, you can really feel the genuineness of his loss of both Bray Wyatt and Luke Harper. Absolutely. Sky Shadowrun said, extremely disappointed by WWE changes Sheamus' theme again. No more lobster head. I do wish I could get into the Liv and Rhea stuff, but I genuinely found Carlito and the B team more entertaining. Rowan's promo was so powerful, I forgot how tall Priest is.
I was also a little bit surprised that Sheamus' theme changed again, because I quite liked the one before Too Many Limes. So I was like, oh, we just went back to that.
Yeah.
And he changed it to a third one.
All
right,
worse
fair
version.
enough.
Yeah. Stephen Costa has been a member for 26 months in a row.
Thanks,
Said, hello, lads. Starbucks here. I thought that Bo Dallas segment was perfect. Bo has really done well to bring that whole world alive. Jam that
Yeah,
jam.
I think it's like, I don't know the parable, but like carrying that mantle is massive. I think they have done a brilliant job thus far.
Yeah.
Of living up to the expectation, or at least standing tall.
Yeah. Jake WTW said, I thought this episode was generally fine. There were some things I liked and some I didn't. The crap DQ in the main event being one of the things I hated. I wish they would come up with more creative ways to extend stories. The best thing on the show for me was the Eric Rowan video. It was heartbreakingly beautiful. I also loved Bo doing Harper's yeah while sitting in the corner. It was so good. I love that detail as well. Ghost Chaos said, I feel like Gunther is losing this feud since in my perspective he needs to be humbled because he's been handed a lot of opportunities with the titles. King of the Ring and the title opportunity in SummerSlam, I think he needs to be humbled first. I don't think he's been handed any of that.
That's it. Because the thing with Gunther has always been that he includes moments in his matches where there's peril. It's why I believed that Sheamus, Chad Gable, Ricochet,
others,
Drew McIntyre, Jey Uso, they have an opening to win that belt for the longest time because he builds into his matches those moments of vulnerability. Randy Orton at King of the Ring, even discounting the botched finish, there are moments where you believe that they might get him.
100%.
So I don't think it is a handed to him thing. I think it is
exactly.
Again, it's look at the material.
And I also think as well, in kayfabe wise as well, I think that he won a lot of matches, got an Intercontinental Championship match, won the belt, held it for 666 days, lost it, got inserted into the King of the Ring tournament, which makes sense. He just held the Intercontinental belt for 666 days, won the tournament, and as the prize for that, gets a title shot at SummerSlam.
Yeah.
I think all of it in kayfabe also makes sense. Like, he hasn't just been handed opportunities in kayfabe either. It's all just been like, he's worked for what he's got so far.
I agree.
Moist Nephew said, man, Rowan's promo was absolutely amazing. There's just something about a big, tough, manly man being sad that just hits different. Found myself tearing up a bit when he started talking about the well. It's great, yeah. Ghost Chaos said, when it came to Bo Dallas showing up and the rest of the Wyatt Six, I was literally jumping around in my bedroom. The one thing that really satisfied me is when Bo Dallas posed with the Wyatt Six, he did the signature Bray Wyatt pose, spreading arms.
And it brought to my mind how this would have looked. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because this was where we were going.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
So I'm glad that they haven't just taken this creative thought and let it go. They found a way to re-energize it and rework it.
Yeah.
I thought it was quite special.
Yeah. Stevie Howland said, it's my favorite pairing. More Pete and Dan, please. Fun Raw, bad ending.
Yeah, that's a very good summation of the show.
Yeah, 100%. Jam4401 says, when I first started watching WrestleTalk, I hated you, Dan.
You and many people.
Yeah. Now, I look forward to every Raw review to hear your thoughts, and I'm rooting for you all the way in Monday Night War. That's bad. Rescind that.
No.
Congrats on Survival Series. Pete, do better. JK, love you too, Pete.
Thanks, Jam4401.
I wasn't even in that episode.
Which one?
The Money in the Bank participants.
Well, you wouldn't have won it anyway.
How am I supposed to do better if I'm not in the...
You
Whatever.
would, let's be honest.
Michael Dominguez said, today is my birthday, not yours, Pete. You're goddamn right. Happy birthday. Could Dan wish it to me?
Happy birthday.
There you go. He and housemate Sam are the only ones who've eluded me. Bruiserweight in IC division is exactly where he needs to be. This is so good for him. Please host AEW pay-per-views. Don't know about that. TBH.
Yeah, also, sorry, just on the Bruiserweight in the IC division, the fact that you're putting him in that division is kind of proof of what I was saying yesterday about the US title needs to be around so that there can be a division, because it's like you can imagine Pete Dunne getting an opportunity by being in this sort of mid-card area, and this is a feud not about a title. Apply that to the women's division as well.
Yeah. There's a couple more here that we've not done yet. Sky Shadowrun said, hearing you talk about Chad as the big dumb jock has changed my mind on what I said earlier. I just don't want Chad to fall down the goofy heel number 5 route once this is over.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think
Totally
you back it up by the rest of the characterization. I think it was when Brutus specifically, because I'm a big Julius fan, but Brutus has something special as well. And when he's there going, you know, like in his face, whatever. And there was even something about his haircut in the suit that is what sold it to me as the jock thing.
Absolutely.
And when they're like, he's beating him up, it took it away from goofy and made me realize, oh, that's what you're doing. So I can understand if you thought maybe it did feel goofy heel, because I did a little bit until I realized.
Yeah, 100%. Will Campbell said, hi guys, first, that Rowan segment was so heartbreakingly beautiful it made me want to cry. Secondly, I like how they went out of the way to recreate Mamacita stuff.
You know the roses.
Yeah. Thirdly, the Wyatt Six materializing out of nowhere was absolutely baller.
God, it was so good.
Go watch that shot, because it's so
it
good.
genuinely looks like they... You know when the Judgment Day is standing in the ring and they've got shadows, but they're not real shadows? I don't know how they do that.
Yeah.
I don't know how they made it look like there's one, now there's two, now there's five. Like, do you know what I mean? They just all arrived.
Yeah, it's really good. Bad Apple Jam Treebeard has been a member for 32 months in a row and said, Raw got booked like Dan's NXT 2.0 with a poor finale.
Hey, look, it'll come good at the pape.
Yeah. Generally speaking, I think you're probably one of the better ones of Monday Night War, having the correct order of shows.
I know what I'm doing.
I'm very bad at that. But,
a little bit.
Yeah. But I believe that is it. We need to check the poll.
You have to go over there and do it. As in, I think you have to go and end it.
It's so far away. Hold on. I'll get there.
This is why Luke has his podcast, but his laptop. But the problem with him having his laptop is that he'll always ignore me midpoint so that he can go and check the laptop, and it feels mean.
All right. Thumbs down, 2%.
Great.
Thumbs in the middle, 17%. Thumbs up, 79%.
That is really interesting to me, because I think it was for me, it's like a B+ show. It was mostly great.
It's a 4 out of 5 show for me.
I loved. I know there were certain segments that I absolutely adored, and an ending that I thought let it down a bit, but not enough. So I'm surprised that there are so many mids, even though that's actually not that many mids.
No, it's not that many mids. And also, as I was ending it, it went from 80% thumbs up to 79%. So it literally just dropped. If I'd have ended it seconds earlier, it would have been at 80%. But yeah, that's the show, I think, everyone. Thank you so much to Geology for sponsoring this video. Click the link in the description down below. Get 70% off your trial set today, and also 50% off any additional add-ons. Thank you, Dan, for joining me on this show.
Oh, you're so welcome, babe.
We'll be back on Thursday. It'll be Ollie and Luke, I presume, doing the Dynamite review. And we'll see you soon. Subscribe if you haven't. Like the video, etc. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you guys later. Jam that jam.